Hi, this is Everett, Everett's Watercolors, and you're listening in to Simply Drawing with Everett at 7:30 p.m. Now I'm in the studio and I'm broadcasting to LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and later on I'll be doing Instagram. And I'm in my studio tonight with my wife Gloria,
Welcome, everyone.
and she'll be on monitoring the chat room and the broadcast. I'm gonna come over here. I've got the chat room live, and you can make a comment and give me some questions if you have it during the broadcast, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Tonight I'm going to do another drawing, of course, but I was out doing some plein air sketching over the weekend, and I found an interesting subject matter. It was a building, and so I sketched it on location, and I said, well, I'm going to bring that back in the studio and see if I can do another sketch, and then maybe I can get some good pointers there to put on the broadcast. So that's what I'm going to do. Let me take you over to my overhead camera and show you some pictures I took. Okay, this was one of the pictures I took of this scene. This is a place I go quite often down on the waterway. I usually take pictures of the water, but now this was a picture of a building there that I found. And it's an interesting shapes. I saw a diagonal there and so forth, but what I did was I cropped it down. I just took this section down here, and what I did was I took the photograph and I reduced it down to the size that I wanted, and so I got the main part of this building here with little pieces on the side, and I got it at an angle that I like to have, a diagonal, and I'll go over that sometime later about why that's important. But this is a scene I actually drew on location. Now I came back to the studio and I started doing some draft lines. I went in to start doing some guidelines on the piece of paper to start a sketch. And I said, well, I think I'll stop there and show you how far I've gone to get started, and show you how I set up a drawing of something like this. So let me go to this is my sketch pad right here behind me, and I'm going to use a citing pencil, the yellow number 2 pencil, and I've got a darker lead here for shading, and I got my old trusty kneaded eraser, and I'm going to be darkening this up with the Sharpie tonight after I get finished. So, what I want you to see, I drew these lines in here just from looking at the photograph and for what I learned on site. Just went in and just started sketching in. But let me show you how I can check myself. I'm going to take the photograph. This is a 9x12 sheet of sketch paper, 9x12, and this is an 8.5 by 11 photograph. Basically an 8x10 by the time you take off the borders. And what I want to do here is I'll show you, line it up with in parallel. Now there I'm putting it across the bottom here, and across the bottom of the photograph, and now I'm going to pull the photograph away. And I look at my drawing, and that's right where I put the line, right there. So that's pretty good. So that's a good construction line right there. That line right there. And just looking at the photograph. Another line I can do is, let's look at the vertical line, just to look at the size of it. And again, I just looking for observation. So there's one vertical line right there on that side of the building. Then I go over here to this side, and there I am, just a visual contact. I drew that in just by observing the photograph. Those two lines right there, the verticals of that building right there, and I got them off the photograph. Let me do another one. This is an interesting line here, the one that goes across the top here. It's at an angle. So I'm going to put that here, and I'm going to put the paper parallel with the sketch. Now I'm going to hold the paper down. I'm going to pull the paper away, and that's just a little bit off. Let me try that again. I'll pull it the other side. I'm going to line it up here with the paper. I'm going to pull the paper out to the side. Now look at that angle, and it's really close. It's really close. That angle right there. So that's a good line. That's a good line right there. The top of that intersection right here. So that's a good line. So just by looking at the photograph, I happened to pick those up. Now let me take. I'm going to take another shot here. I'm going to take an angle of the roof. Take the angle of the roof. I'm going to pull that aside. I'll be darned. You know what? I guess I'm lucky, but anyway, my observation right there of that line is the same. Now I did move it up a little bit when I looked at it, so I didn't correct that from the photograph. I didn't copy the photograph. I just drew that line from observation, but I did change it from there. You can see the change I made. I'll bring that up. I did make a change on that one. You see I left the original line there, then I corrected it up to this one over here. So the one I made, the correction I made, matches the photograph angle. So I'm going to take that line out. Make that construction line there. Okay. So we're just talking about we're talking about getting some construction, getting some reference points here. We're talking about getting construction lines before we make any details at all. Okay, let's try another one. Let's try this angle here. This angle. Let's get this angle here of the roof. So I'm gonna line it up. What I do? I put the paper parallel on the drawing. Then I line up the pencil on the edge I want. So this edge of the roof right here, and then I pull the paper out. And then I check the angle that I drew. Now that one's a little bit off, but it's not so terrible that I'm going to change it. I think I'm going to leave that alone. It's just a little bit off. I'm going to leave that alone. It's close enough. Then the back wall, this one here. Let's get the back of the roof. That's the pitch of the roof. Again, I lined it. All I did, line the photograph up with the paper, put the pencil on the line. Then I'm going to pull it down, and that's parallel with that line. So that's a good line also. Okay, now these lines are faint. I made them faint so I could, what I'm doing, I'm trying to make corrections before I make any final decisions here on this. This one over here. Okay. I'm going to get this line here. Okay, that's a little bit flatter, so I can make a change there. I can make that change. I can make that change there. This be so I'm making corrections now on the drawing, and I'm comparing with what I have now. Let's get the angle of the roof here. This is not an important line. Yeah, that could be a little bit steeper. Just a little bit steeper. Just maybe maybe 5 degrees, or maybe less than 5 degrees difference on that. Okay, I'll make that change. Now another one I like to see is this roof line over here. This is another roof line I want to check. This roof line back here, the back roof here, that's not level. You can see it's not level. I'm going to pull it out. All right, so that needs to be changed a little bit. So what I'll do is I'll bring that in. That's not a level line. It's got an angle to it. So I'm going to take that up like that. Okay. I'm going to erase that. I'm going to erase the old line that I had on there before. Okay. Because it has a little bit now, and this line down here now. Let me check this line. It should be parallel. Oh, that one's wrong too. So let me pull that one up. I'm making really minor corrections now. Very minor corrections. Okay. Just for a good representation of the drawing. I'm just about done with my preliminary remarks here. This line here, one more look at it. Again, I parallel the paper. And that one's that's good. That line there is good. Okay. And the width that I do, that's not important, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that in. Let's go ahead and put that in. Okay. This line over here, I'm going to put it in. All right. So what I've got so far is I've got a draft now of all the lines I have on there. That's a draft. Okay, and I'm pretty happy with that. Everything lines up just about where I want it. So those construction lines give me the angles of the rooftop and the bottom here. Very important. Okay, now I can start putting in some details. Let me take my drawing pencil. I think the first detail from this is the center. This is the center of the roof, right? the roof comes down, and that goes right in the middle of those two windows. That's important. So come down here, about this level right here. I can put those two windows in. So I'm going to rough that in. And again, I'm just going to make a pretty good guess here. I'm making a guess. This comes down straight. This comes over. It comes down straight. And I'm going to split that. That's going to come down here. And I'm going to come over here. There's a doorway on this side. So I'm going to come over here and put the doorway in. Okay. All right. Now the other thing that's important, I think, is this. There's a railing structure here, which I think I'll get in. Let's see. I'll come up the wall. I'm going to observe here. They come up the wall. It's about a third of the way up. 1, 2, 3. About a third of the way. So I can come up here about a third of the way. 1, 2. So about right here. About a third of the way, and it's going to angle down. It comes. There's a straight line here. And then it goes down to the bottom of this window over here. Middle. Oh, this window here. I got the wrong window. Okay, this window here. Okay. So it stops about right there. The middle of that window is right there. That's where the end of that railing comes, right there. Okay, then there's a gap here, and right by the door is the other side. There's another railing over there, and it goes up this part of the building here, so I can cross over. Let's see, it's about that angle right there. Okay. Let's see what else I want. Now, the one thing it's pretty hard to see here in the photograph. There's a set of stairs right here, a step with a railing up there. So what I did was I looked at it and I compared, and I came up with a drawing this afternoon. I said, well, that's what those stairs look like right there. So I did a little practice session there with what I see. I'll put that in. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to use my preliminary drawing here. The stair comes over here and it comes up. Let's see, the doorway's there. This line's here, it comes down. So I'm going to get that in there. Let's see the doorway. So, doorway there. Okay. Put it in the doorway. I'm talking to myself, so I'm trying to get the angle that I want. Let's see, that's below that. All right. I got that section. And then it comes over here and it comes down. And then there's a and this is about as much as I can make out. I can't really make out much more than that right there. But I can make a couple steps in here. And I'm just going to make the indication there's some steps, a staircase here. It goes across. Just indication. Okay. All right. So I'm ready to go ahead and put in some of the final drawing information. Another thing I want to do here. There's a couple windows over here in this far building. I might put those in. Oh, and I got to get some of the structure up there. This is more important. Okay. So at the top of the building. I'm going to draw in some of these looks like air conditioners and blowers and so forth, exhaust fans and so forth that come out of the building. So I'll put some of those in. I've got there's one that starts here on this edge of the roof. and it comes up parallel to the rooftop, then it goes up, has a slant, and it goes this way, and it has a little angle on the rooftop, so that'll be enough to define that. Then I have one more I'll put over here. On this side there's like an air conditioner vent here. So these are just going to be suggestions, and there's one more here at the top here, up here to the side. And it's got it's like a circular vent, air vent, exhaust. Because this is the back stairs of a small restaurant here. So these are probably exhaust fans for the ovens and stoves and so forth. Okay, and there's a couple little pipes out there. I'll put a couple little pipes here coming out of the rooftop. There's one over here. I'll put that in. Okay. All right. So I've added these little structures here on the top of the roof here to give you some interesting intercepts. And there's a little cover here on the back step here. A little cover at the top. I'll draw that in. It's like a little overhang. As you come out of the door, if it was raining or something, you wouldn't step out on that. So that goes in there, okay? And I think that's about all I need to do right now. The only other thing is this one right here. There's also a little this board, this little design here on this building. I'll just put that across there, kind of finish that off. All right, now the windows down here at the this far end. There's a big window here in the front. It's covered up with some plastic covering on. And this one down here, it goes a little bit lower, and it goes straight, and it comes down, and it divides. Okay, that's enough of that. That was enough of that structure there. Okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now. I'm going to go ahead with my Sharpie, and I'm going to have the photograph over here, but I'm going to be drawing these lines in a little bit deeper, a little bit darker. So I'm going to start here where I started with the drawing itself. I'm going to start at the bottom here, along next to the parking area. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw in a straight line of the curb. This is there's really a sidewalk here. And let me get up here so you can watch me draw. I'll put the drawing here on the front sheet so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and there's a sidewalk here, which has got like a parallel line all the way up. The sidewalk runs the whole distance, and there's a little curb. I'll put that in. These are all parallel lines. Okay. And you gotta get used to drawing lines, straight lines, because they're pretty easy to do. Now I can put some verticals in now. I got this side of the building over. I can put that in. That one's good. And the side over here, I can put this side in. And then this strip along, I can put this strip in here at the top. I got the angle, so just go draw a straight line, just following the line I drew in. Get that parallel line in, okay. Then I get the roof in. This line is good. And this line over here is good. Okay, so I've got the front of this building here pretty well defined. Over here I can do a real quick add on here. This slants down. And then this has a corner to the building over here. I'll put that in. And then that window opens over here. And there's windows on the side over here. So now I'm drawing from the photograph, sketching in what I see. So I got the right side of the drawing. I got the right side of the drawing pretty well done at this point over here. Now let me get the rooftop in. And once I got those vents at the top on the top of the roof done, I can get around those now. This corner comes to here. I'll go ahead and draw the vent in. The top. The vertical here. Then there's an angle. That's vertical here. And this has a slant on the roof. And this goes up straight. This has a little slant because of the perspective we're at. And this one here, this has a little top to it. Okay. And over here is one box on this side, just a quick box. I'll get the rooftop, it comes in here. Over here. I'm drawing this section right up in here in the top here. This comes down. This has a little angle to it, it's in perspective. It's on this side of the roof, so it'll be see the full thing. And then this little vent over here. Let's see. Let me get that. We'll get this building on. Let's get this section over here on the left. Over here, this section right here. I'll come down. I'll get the vertical in. Then I'll get the rooftop. Get the angle. So I'm just drawing these straight lines from one end to the other. Get in the habit of drawing straight lines. The more you draw them, the more comfortable you get with them. You don't need rulers. You don't need anything to make them straight. You just do the best way you can with your what you see. And then this has this horizontal strip across here. I'll just kind of complete the trim of that, just like I did over here. And let me get this box on top. I got a box. This is really a circular piece up here. Just what we're seeing is the side of it, so you can't tell if it's circular or not, but I know it has to be a circular angle, cylinder. Okay. And there's a little pipe here in the roof. It's probably an air vent, circulation vent. There's the edge of the roof here, another vent over here. Then I'll get this side of the roof edge. This comes down. This angled roof comes up here. Then there's this little overhang we have. Put that in here. Okay, there's the doorway. The doorway comes down here right below the little it's like an awning or just above the door. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and just put that staircase in. It was just a railing right here. I could see just enough from the photograph, and I also being there on location, I know there's a staircase there, and the wall just came down to a section here. Then there was a back into that doorway. There was a little landing there that you stood on to go into the building. And then this staircase, there was one step here, and it came down. There was another step here. That was all there was. Then it came down to the pavement. Okay, now last thing I'm going to put in, I'm going to just put in the windows over here. And I'm going to simplify these. Instead of making two of those separate windows, I'm going to make one large window. This is something I'm just going to make a judgment on, rather than make this just a wide open. At a wide opening as a window, and there's one over here for the doorway. Okay, now this staircase, I'm just going to kind of bring that in. Not really a case of railing is all it was. I'm just going to go ahead and put the railing in. And there was a whole series of, and I'm just going to indicate that this was railings. I'm just going to put a few in. I'm not going to put all of them in. Then over here was another railing that went up a ramp, up to this back door. And it also had railings. So I'll just indicate. Okay. Okay, now the last thing I want to do, just to finish it off, I'm going to put in some shading. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shade in the rooftop up here. I'm just going to put a little shade. So I got the outline. I got the outline of the drawing. And that's from what I saw and also observed. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just put a real quick shading in here. The rooftop was dark black. So I'll just put a little shading up there. This part was also black top. The rooftop was a dark shingles. We'll shade that in. And what I do for the this doorway was dark also. It was made out. It was wood. You can see the doorway was dark. It was a wood panel doorway. So I'll just go ahead and put that in. I'm not going to worry about putting a shadow pattern around this. But when I do windows, what I normally do is I just indicate. I'll put some like shiny. Just do a movement on across there and just showing those were windows. That indicates to me that was a window. Nothing solid. Okay, so that's a pretty good preliminary drawing of that particular subject there, and I think that's something that you should try to do if you're on location. This is the one I did looking at the building itself. Here's one I did on location of the same building. That sketch right there was the on location sketch, looking out my vehicle window. Now this is the one I did tonight live with the photograph. Okay, so there's several ways of doing it, and I recommend both photograph and also with a sketchbook when you're out observing a building or any kind of subject. Just do some drawing. That's the most important thing. Let's take you back to my main camera. Okay, well, I had a lot of fun doing that. I hope you got something out of it. What I was trying to show in the beginning was I started with a bunch of construction lines. And those construction lines were based on observation. And I was observing the photograph as my reference. And I put those construction lines in there just to get started. And then I showed you how I checked them. I lined up a pencil with the photograph and then pulled the photograph away and saw how close my construction lines were to that photograph. And they came out pretty good. I didn't need a ruler. I didn't need a set of calipers or measurements or anything. I just did it by estimating and just observation. And that's a good exercise to do a drawing, let's say a building's was got straight lines and so forth, but on almost any subject matter you want to. So I'll be back again next Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on Simply Drawing with Everett. I'm also live on Thursday afternoon at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I do a watercolor demonstration. And I'll put out a little video this weekend on anyone can draw with one line only. And I think you'll enjoy that if you check in. If you're subscribed to this channel, then you'll get notification of the videos that come out. So it helps my rating. If you give me a like, give me some likes and subscribe, it helps my rating, and I would appreciate that. So I'll see you next week on Simply Drawing with Everett at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So in the meantime, you be safe. Take care. Bye.